Thunder Cave, Chapter 25. My father took a tarp from the Land Rover, and I helped him spread it on the ground. He then took out 2 large tackle boxes and a rifle case and set them on the tarp. "I'll load the tranquilizer darts here," he said, opening one of the boxes. Inside were drug vials and disassembled tranquilizer darts. He pulled on a pair of surgical gloves. "Put a pair on, Jake," he said. "You know the routine." "Why the gloves?" Donovan asked. "We're going to use a drug called M99, he said. "It's very dangerous. A drop in an open cut can kill you. You've got to be very careful." He picked up a vial and very carefully pulled the M99 out with a syringe. I took one of the dart shafts, put a charge in the feathered cap, and screwed it onto the end of the shaft. My father talked as he worked. "We'll only be able to do 1 elephant at a time, but I'll load a couple of darts in case I miss." The dart rifles operates on CO2. When the dart hits the elephant, the impact ignites the charge, which pulses the plunger forward and the drug goes in. The rifle is almost silent, just a slight popping noise. If we're lucky, the elephants won't panic. They'll just wander farther into the bush. When we're done with the first elephant, we'll find the herd and do it again. "How long is the elephant down?" Donovan asked. "As long as we want it down. That's the beauty of M99. There's an antidote called M5050. When we're finished, I inject the antidote into a vein in the elephant's ear, and it'll be on its feet within minutes. The whole procedure won't take long. I have obstetrics wire that will cut through the tusks cleanly." "Sounds pretty harmless," Donovan said. "Not necessarily," my father said. "The elephant could have a bad reaction to the drug, and when we take the tusks off, there's going to be a big hole in the tusk's stump. Tusks are hollow at the base, filled with pulp, just like your teeth. An open wound like this is an invitation for infection, and there's going to be a lot of pain." My father looked up at Donovan angrily. "So don't think that this is humane. It isn't. It's just better than your alternative." He looked back to what he was doing and carefully filled the dart shaft I was holding with M99. When he was finished, I screwed the barbed needle onto the shaft and set a dart on the tarp. We repeated the procedure for the second dart. My father took the 2 darts and put a protective sleeve over the needles so the M99 wouldn't leak out. He opened the gun case and took the rifle out. He unscrewed the end of the CO2 chamber and shook out the cartridge and put a new one in. He tested it by firing the rifle without a dart in it. It made a slight pop every time he pulled the trigger. Satisfied, he took one of the darts, slid it into the breech, and put the other dart in his pocket. He stood up. "That's about it," he said, handing me the rifle. He turned on the receiver and held the antenna above his head toward the east hill. Beep, beep, beep. They haven't moved very far. He reached for the rifle. I handed it to him, and he slung it over his shoulder. Then he slipped the receiver strap onto his head so it hung on his side. "Well," he said, looking at the hills, "I guess I'm ready." "What do we do?" Donovan asked. "You wait here," he said. "With Jacob?" Donovan reminded him. "Yeah, with Jacob," he said. "This is a job that I have to do alone." "That's fine, Dr. Lanza," Donovan said. "We have every confidence in you, and we have your son. Nothing better happen to him." Donovan smiled. "Don't worry. We are all going to get what we want today. It's going to take me a while to do this, so don't worry, I'll be back. If I dart one, I'll come to the base of the hill and wave, then you can drive the trucks up." "That'll be fine," Donovan said. My father looked at me and smiled. "You can put the gear away if you want." I nodded and smiled. Putting the gear away had been my job when I was a little kid. "Good luck," I said. "Right," he said, and walked towards the west hill across the savannah. I watched until he disappeared into the bush at the base of the hill. An hour and a half passed. Nobody spoke. The clouds grew thicker and darker. I tapped out the drumbeat with my foot. It was hot and humid, but at least the sun wasn't beating down on us. I wondered what my father and I would do after this was over. Would he send me back to New York, or would he let me stay? I couldn't imagine him coming to New York with me. Africa seemed to be where he belonged, and I felt that it was where I belonged as well. I saw a movement at the base of the hill. My father came out of the bush, but he didn't wave. Instead, he walked briskly in our direction. Something had gone wrong. The two men jumped off the tailgate and started for the doors of the truck. "Wait," Donovan said. They stopped. "What's going on, Jacob?" I stood up and watched my father. "I don't know," I said. "Something isn't right." We waited for my father. He walked silently to the Land Rover, drenched in sweat. When he got there, he put the rifle in the back and got out the canteen and took a long drink. He looked at Donovan. "I got up to them," he said disgustedly. "But they ran. I couldn't get a shot off. They're very nervous today." Donovan didn't respond. My father continued. "It might be best to let them settle down for a while. They didn't run very far." Donovan got out of the Land Rover and walked over to my father. He looked at the sky. "Well," he said, "it was a noble effort, Dr. Lanza." "What do you mean?" my father asked. "I mean that we're running out of time. It looks like rain, and that rain will turn this valley into a mud wallow that will make it very difficult to transport the ivory. We have a deal, which has just been called off on account of rain." "No," my father said. "If you send your men after the elephants, you'll only get one or two. Give me another chance." Donovan looked at him. "You look very tired, Dr. Lanza. I imagine that you didn't get much sleep last night. You need a rest, and unfortunately, we have no time for that." "Let me do it," I said. All three men looked at me, surprised. "I can do it," I said. "I don't think," Donovan began. "Let him finish," my father interrupted. "I told them about stalking the rhinos and about Sapit coming up on the poachers' camp. I wondered how you had gotten out of that camp," Donovan said. "So where's your friend going now?" "Long gone," I said, which was true in a way. "Let him do it," my father said. "He knows how to use the dart rifle." "What do you have to lose?" "Time, Dr. Lanza, time." Donovan looked at his watch, then glanced at the sky. "You have 1 hour," he said. "If you're not back, we will move in with the truck and see how many we can get." "Okay," I said, hoping that an hour would be enough time. My father took the rifle out of the back of the Land Rover and handed it and the spear dart to me. He reached for the antenna and receiver. "I won't need that," I said. "What?" He looked surprised. "Just another thing to carry," I said. "Point out where you last saw them." He pointed. "See that narrow gully to the north?" I nodded. "They ran up it a little ways." "Okay," I said, and started off. 1 hour, I heard Donovan say behind me. "Good luck, son." I didn't turn around to look. To save time, I jogged to the base of the hill. When I got there, I looked around and found the plant Sapit had used for camouflage. I took off my clothes and rubbed the juice from the plant all over, then rolled on the ground, covering myself with dust. When I was finished, I moved cautiously towards the gully and reached it in less than 15 minutes. I started up the gully very slowly, concentrating on everything around me. The brush became thinner the higher I went up. Up ahead, the path took a sharp turn to the right. Still no sign of the elephants. I began to think that I was in the wrong place. Then I heard a branch snap ahead of me. I froze. Another branch snapped, then another. The elephants were coming towards me. I took several slow steps backwards and moved to my left. I saw a glint of white through the bushes than the top of a gray head. The elephants were within 50 feet of me. Calmly moving down the gully, I tried to concentrate on what they were seeing, not what I was seeing. My arms seemed to position themselves as if they had a mind of their own, as if they knew exactly where to go. I was barely breathing. I saw myself standing like a statue against the bushes. It was just like when I had floated above myself in the dry riverbed, only the angle was different now. I was lumbering down the gully. I was seeing everything the elephants were seeing, and then I was gone. I wasn't there anymore. When the first elephant passed by, I saw things from their viewpoint of the second elephant. The elephants walked by very slowly, and when the final elephant passed by my own viewpoint, returned. The rump of the last elephant was 20 feet away. I raised the rifle to my cheek and fired. Pop! The elephant trumpeted and swung around, trying to reach the dart with its trunk. I didn't move. The rifle was still at my cheek. The herd panicked and ran down the gully while the darted elephant continued to move in circles, trying to get the dart out. I heard branches breaking to the north as the elephants ran. The darted elephant gave up on trying to remove the dart and headed down the gully to find the others. I followed the elephant at a safe distance. When it got to the bottom of the gully, it began to stumble. It fell to its front knees, then got up again, and stood still with the tip of its long trunk touching the ground. The ends of its huge tusks came within inches of the ground. The elephant raised its front foot to take a step forward, but lost its balance and came crashing to the ground. It tried to get up, fell over on its side, then lay still. I walked over and watched its chest heave with each breath. The elephant looked like it was going to be all right. I put the rifle down and ran back through the bush. When I reached the savannah, the truck and Land Rover were already moving along the base of the hill. I couldn't believe that an hour had passed. My father drove up in the Land Rover and stopped. Donovan and Moha were with him. "Did you see them?" my father asked. "I got one down," I said. "Where?" My father was excited. "At the end of the gully." "Well, I'll be damned." He reached down and held up my clothes. "We found these where you went into the bush. Is this the trick?" I took the clothes from him and grinned. "Not exactly," I said, putting on my pants and shirt. "Enough congratulations," Donovan said impatiently. "We have business to take care of." The truck pulled up behind us, and the other two men got out. I put my shoes on, and my father handed me one of the tackle boxes. I led them to the elephants. "Jacob and I will have the tusks off. We'll take the tusks off," my father said. "Have one of your men pour water over the elephant's ear slowly. It will help to keep them cool." Mohat said something to one of the men, and the man climbed onto the elephant's head with a water container. "I want to do this quick," my father said, "so we can give it the antidote." "What about putting a collar on it?" I asked. "That will take too much time," Donovan said. My father started to protest, but then thought better of it. "Okay," he said. "Let's just get this over with. Hand me the obstetrics wire." I got the wire out of the tackle box. He ran it underneath the lower tusk, attached a handle on each end of the wire, and began to cut. "I smell something burning," I said. "That's just the friction from the wire," he said. "It creates heat." He looked at Donovan. "When I'm through the tusk, have your men pull it away. I'll have Jacob plug the cavity with gauze while I start on the other tusk." I got the gauze out of the tackle box. "Should I put anything on this?" I asked. "Yeah," my father said. He was sweating with exertion. "Put some betadine on it. It won't do much good, but it will make me feel better. I'll give him an antibiotic shot before we give him the antidote."